Yeah, the times I do catch myself doom scrolling, it's sometimes no. Why am I saying Wednesday? I usually catch myself doom scrolling on like a Sunday morning, and I'm like, nope, hold up, gotta go spend time with my dog. All right, I forgot we hit record. Hello, it is time for COI. Today I will be kind of chill back, relax. We're gonna take it nice and easy. Zero mispronunciations. We're gonna pronounce all these demure French words correctly first try. That being said, let's find out what happens to Lumian Lee and Aurora Lee. And I am still locked in. No. My first death is locked in. Raymond is going to die when we find the warlock characteristics. So let's get reading. Wait, hold up. Let me show you guys on video. Today we are kind of chill and relaxed, but look. These are the Family Mart socks. Straight from Japan. When I was too lazy to do my laundry, motherfucker, I'd just be buying more socks. Alright. Chapter 9 is called Magazine. As the night settled in, Lumian finished dealing with his neighbors who had come to borrow the oven. You can borrow an oven in this area. He made his way up to the second floor, entering the room that served as Aurora's study. In Cordu, many folks were destitute, and couldn't afford their own ovens or large stoves. When they needed to toast bread or smoke meat, they had to borrow it from others and use it on the spot. Aurora had always been lenient and accommodating when it came to this. Anyone could borrow her oven, but they had to pay the full costs or bring their own coal and wood. Currently, she had donned her white silk nightdress and was curled up in a reclining chair, her focus solely on the book she had under the bright battery-powered lamp on the desk. Lumian didn't wish to disturb her. She nonchalantly pulled out a thin book from her bookshelf and took a seat in the corner. Hidden Veil, what kind of magazine is this? Lumian pondered, gazed as it covered that was adorned with cryptic symbols. He swiftly flipped through the pages and then moved, and the more he read, the more he was taken aback. The magazine delved into the very existence of the human soul. It discussed how all beings had a spirit, and through a secret method of communication, I dropped my mic, between different spirits, one could obtain various kinds of aids. You mean like a spirit messenger, okay? Even if one wasn't devout, even if they only attended the Eternal Blazing Sun Cathedral to pay and partake in mass occasionally, two words couldn't help but flash through Lumian's mind: sacrilege, taboo. As a warlock, and bro's trying to get more views by showing his feet. Is it working? Did we go up 1,000 subs if I do this? As a warlock who would undoubtedly be buried at the stake by the Inquisition if her true identity was exposed, it was customary for Aurora to have such books at her residence. However, Lumian couldn't tell that this magazine had received the government's permission for publication. Can such a thing be openly published? Didn't they say that the publication's censorship had always been very strict? Or is this fake permit? Lumian looked up at Aurora's and inquired, is this a prohibited magazine? It probably is. Aurora took her eyes off the book and glanced at her brother. She responded in a nonchalant tone. In the past, it was underground fiction. Later on, for some reason, we did talk about, hold up, Renaissance era and underground books. Yo, easy sitting like a Malaysian uncle. Am I sitting like an uncle? You know what? I feel like I kind of am, huh? This is like the boomer pose. Fiction. Lumian was taken aback by his sister's choice of words. Of course it's fiction. You're not taking it seriously, are you? Aurora laughed. If what's written is true, do you think it can still be published if you follow the method written on it? Other than making yourself mentally weak and neurotic, there won't be any additional gains. Yes, there would occasionally be something real, but without the corresponding ritual language, it'll be a waste of effort no matter how hard you try. Put my mic a little bit closer. This was the professional evaluation of a warlock. All right, Lumian couldn't hide his disappointment. I just find it strange that this can be published. Aurora took a deep breath, her puffed up cheeks accentuating her pondering. I don't know why either. Perhaps it's because the world has been seeing an influx of supernatural events lately, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to conceal them. The public is becoming more aware of their existence, and the government is slowly easing its grip on such topics. That's why books like these are being published. In Trier... Wait. Let's scroll down too much. Hold up. In Trier, Psychic, Lotus, and Arcane are the most popular magazines. Music changer in the chat. Bet. Thank you, Kemi. Psychic, Lotus, and Arcane are the most popular magazines. I have them all on my bookshelf. If you want to come up with more realistic stories for the tavern, you should give them a read. Oi. Yes, yes. Oh, I remember the French word. Oui is yes. Lumian responded eagerly, his interest peaked. Simultaneously, he allowed a wistful sigh deep in his heart. Aurora's hoard of books was truly impressive and diverse. Thanks to the tomes of the Aurora, occasional Yo, bro, this vocabulary. Thanks to these tomes and Aurora's what? Why could I not read occasional? And Aurora's occasional... Wait, no, I could read occasional. It's the next word. Occasional elucidations. Lumian, a lad who had forsaken his schooling, had managed to acquire a reasonable comprehension of the world, continent, and nation he called home. The world was divided into two great continents, one to the north and one to the south, separated by the treacherous Berserk Sea where raging hurricanes battered anyone who dared to sail its waters. But the truly mysterious lands lay to the east and the west. The west, you say? On the legendary eastern and western continents, no one had ever set foot, and some wondered if they even existed at all. They kind of do, but we don't know. Will we find out in book 2? Lumian and Aurora lived in the... I want to know what's beyond that fucking barrier in the western continent. Lumian and Aurora lived in Intis Republic, a land situated in the heart of the northern continent. It was a nation bordered by the Fog Sea to the west and Phasic Empire to the north, and the Hornicus mountain range and the Loan Kingdom to the east. To the south lay the Phaenoparter Kingdom, Lenberg, and Mason. The small countries nestled between the Phaenoparter Kingdom and the Loan Kingdom, such as Cigar, together with Lemberg and Masson, were collectively known as the countries of the South Central region. They shared a common faith in the God of knowledge and wisdom. That is a good refresher. As I lost my place, the southern continent had already fallen under the domain of the various powers of the northern continent, whether it was the Balam Empire, the Pos Kingdom, the Hagenti Kingdom, or any other nations. They had all but lost their autonomy, yet still a fierce resistance against colonization burdened the hearts of the conquered. In addition to the Berserk Sea dividing the northern and southern continents, there were other great seas: the Fog Sea to the west of the Intis Republic, the Sonia Sea to the east of the Lone Kingdom, the north, and to the North Sea to the north of the Phasic Empire, the Polar Sea to the south of the southern continent. They were collectively known as the Five Seas. Of all the nations of the northern continent, the Loan Kingdom was the strongest, with Intis Republic close behind. The Phasic Empire, defeated in the last war, had fallen to 4th place. Okay, they went down in ranking. The Phaenoparter Kingdom had risen to 3rd place, and among the countries of the southern central region, Lenberg reigned supreme. Compared to the simple folk in Cordu who only knew of the Intis Republic, the Phaenoparter Kingdom, and the Lenberg Lumian was practically a cartographer. It was no surprise really, considering the Cordu village shepherds only traveled to the neighboring kingdoms of the Phaenoparter and Lenberg. They only had a limited understanding of these lands. Their people in the northern villages of the Dirage region were just as a provincial. Other than surrounding settlements, they could only name Trier, Suhit, and a few other metropolitans. Lumian was often baffled how did Aurora come by such vast knowledge. All the textbooks here were penned by Aurora, and all his practice exams were prepared by her. Aurora had an answer for every question in the books he read, but what stunned him even more was her expertise in various forms of combat. Oh, you know what? I feel like she is going to be the Klein of this story. So I feel like Aurora is going to be like the intellectual Klein, and Lumian, the forgetful Dunsmith, maybe? I don't know. Let's find out. It was simply mind-boggling that a woman in her 20s could accumulate so much wisdom. Some people couldn't amass that much knowledge even after living 50 to 60 years. Yo, what's up, guys? Could it be that there are building blocks of a true warlock? Lumian looked up again and gazed at Aurora, lost in thought. As Aurora patted her cheeks while reading, she hardly seemed like a scholar or a warlock. Aurora caught Lumian's gaze and demanded, "What are you ogling at?" Yeah, bro, what? What are you ogling at? Lumian quickly changed the subject. "Last time you mentioned that I possessed the knowledge required to pass the college entrance exams." Aurora pondered for a moment before responding, "In theory, you could gain admission to any university, but since I never took the particular exam, I can't say for certain What questions will be asked? Roselle sure did a number 2 on the populace. Sigh, I guess it's a good thing. Undoubtedly, Emperor Roselle's reign spawned the college entrance exams, and it had remained a fixture of the academic life to this day. Aurora's mind suddenly shifted gears. She shot Lumen a sly grin and inquired, why did you not make your usual stop at the tavern today to regale the Patreons with your tales? I'm not truly an alcoholic. Not yet. And also, don't drink. For people that read Shadow Slave, it is not good. You drink, you're gonna get in bad cahoots. I'm not truly an alcoholic, Lumian replied while flipping through his magazines. Reading at home is equally enjoyable, and it helps to calm my nerves and ease my mind. Lumian silently added. Aurora nodded and glanced over at Lumian's spot in the corner of the room. Why are you sitting so far away, putting on an act of pitifulness, weakness, and helplessness? Come closer, you need proper lighting to read at night, otherwise your eyes will suffer. Aurora sure had a way with words. Lumian mused? So it's like he was amused, but he just mused. Okay? Lumian mused. Although I understand the meaning behind pitifulness, weakness, and helplessness, it's still an odd combination, supposedly used to her idiosyncrasis. Supposedly used to her idiosyncrasis. By now, Lumian retrieved the chair and moved closer to the desk where Aurora sat. The two of them spent the evening reading in silence, occasionally chatting, and the sounds of their breathing mingled with the rustlings of pages and the soft breeze that wafted in front the outside window, peaceful and soothing. We're about 3/4 of the chapter. As he bid Aurora goodnight, Lumian slipped back into his quarters. He peeled off his coat and draped. No, mused is to say to oneself in a thoughtful manner. Mused to say to oneself in a thoughtful manner. Oh. How do I've never said that word before. I am very mused today. As he bid Aurora goodnight, Lumian slipped back into his quarters. He peeled off his coat and draped it across the back of the chair. Music chair when Lumian goes to sleep. Oh, I'm excited. He peeled off his coat and draped it across the back of his chair. He couldn't risk bringing the wand card to bed with him. That would only raise suspicion, and his sister had sworn to keep a watchful eye on him at all times. Just as he was about to approach the bed, Lumian froze, his heart skipping a beat. His sharp eyes darted around the room, and he adjusted the chair that was usually positioned at a diagonal angle to face the window. Then he crawled into bed and extinguished the kerosene lamps resting on the cabinet next to him. As he drifted off into the depths of slumber, Lumian was suddenly startled awake. I guess we're asleep. Alright. The bedroom was shrouded in a dense gray fog. Lumian, who was already mentally prepared, calmly took in his surroundings and made a realization. The chair that he had meticulously arranged before retiring for the night was still positioned at an angle in his dream, just as he had been in reality in the past. This suggested the dream world had entered was not an exact reflection of reality. Perhaps it was a manifestation of his deepest subconscious desires. Ooh, we know that. Although Lumian couldn't decipher its meaning, he knew that it was something to be remembered. Next music change, mid of next chapter. He walked over the window. Thank you as always, Cammy. He walked over to the window, placed his hands on the sills, and gazed out. The mountain made of brownish red stones and reddish brown soil, and the collapsed buildings that surrounded it were still present. The eerie silence of the place was deafening. Time quickly passed. After much contemplation, Lumian made a firm decision. He would embark on a preliminary exploration of the area tonight. His past life of the streets had turned him into a man of action. He didn't rush downstairs, however. Instead, he opened a cabinet and began to pawn the clothes. He didn't need them to keep warm, but he entered to increase his defense ability in this way. He grabbed a cotton shirt, cotton pants, and a leather jacket, stretching his body to feel the fit. Any more clothing would only hinder his agility, and that was crucial in a situation like this. As he adjusted his current state, Lumian had a sudden thought. This is my dream. Can't I get wherever I want? No, can I get whatever I want? With the intention, he muttered to himself, I want a breastplate and a revolver. I want a breastplate and a revolver. The room was so shrouded in thin gray fog. This wouldn't do. The dream is special. His disappointment was palpable, but he quickly regained his composure and made his way to the bedroom door. Stepping out into the corridor, he found himself in complete darkness. It was murky and dim. Lumian pushed open the door to Aurora's bedroom and then her study. The layout was slightly different from reality, but he recognized it immediately. The biggest difference, of course, was that Aurora was nowhere to be found. The entire scene was frozen in shades of gray. Okay, I don't want to... Nope, I'm not making a shades of gray comment. The first floor was no different. Lumian scanned his surroundings, searching for a weapon to defend himself. He knew his home better than anyone else and quickly found two viable options. The first was a 2-meter-long fork made of steel. Aurora had said it was effective at outstanding as long as its target didn't have a long-range weapon. I don't remember this. This was last stream, last read-through. The second was a sharp iron black hand axe, and why not both? Lumian, yeah, fuck it, man. If he is 7 of wands, I assume he's gonna have 7 weapons. That's what I'm thinking. So right now, like, fuck it, why not both, bro? You're gonna have 7 in total, and why not both? Lumian couldn't help but think of Aurora's oft-repeated phrase, but he quickly dismissed the idea. Today was all about reconnaissance. He needed to be sly, hidden in the shadows. Lugging around a cumbersome weapon would only hinder his movements and give him away. Taking a deep breath, Lumian stood down to retrieve the axe. He rose to his full height and set off towards the door, barely visible in the misty haze. With a deft hand, he opened the door, not making a sound. What are we going to see? Redstone? I'm playing Minecraft in his dream. Fucking play Minecraft, dude. I'm fucking excited, dude. I am so excited. Like, the thing now... I don't think it's just like, oh, it's the gray fog all over again. Like, I don't think it's gonna be the same Sephiroth. Ain't no way, bro. It has to be something new, right? If I remember right, the River of Eternal Darkness also had a gray fog barrier, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know if that was because of external factors. I assume we're about to find out what this dream is, because chapter 10 is called Blood. I don't know if we're making a blood pact or something, but we're going to find out. And I'm excited. In no way this was a 17-minute chapter. Man, these chapters are... These are some girthy-ass chapters, man. Let's fucking go. Chapter 10. Chapter 10 is called Blood. What's going to happen? As Lumian stepped out the door, he felt as though he was transported to another world. Before him lay no longer the familiar corridor, but a dark red mountain peak and a so it's no longer okay. It's a little bit different than Hornicus mountain range, but let's find out. As I lost my place, but a dark red mountain peak and the collapsed buildings surrounding it together they formed a strange ruin. The fog in the sky was thick and pale, making it difficult for the light to enter. The ground was shattered and there were many rocks. Lumian gripped his axe tightly and inched forward carefully, his heart pondering in his chest. Along the way, he couldn't find a place to hide. There was no weeds or trees. Lumian walked in fear, his every sense of high alert. All he could do was hunch his back and comfort himself. At the very least, if there was any danger to this area, it would be obvious at a glance. He could discover it in advance. Finally, he arrived at the ruins, a half-collapsed building that had been wrecked by fire. Hold up. The COI cover. Building covered in fire. Lumian surveyed the area for a moment and attentively... Wait. I have to burp. Is this Sephiroth? This Sephiroth has to be related to the Eternal Blazing Sun in some way, shape, or form, because we've been talking about the Eternal Blazing Sun for 9 chapters. The cover has fire. I might be stretching. Or over it. Nah. Yeah. Hold up. Let's find out. Lumian surveyed the area for a moment and attentively confirmed that there were no other creatures lurking about. Cooking? Yeah, maybe. Am I cooking? Yeah, I think I'm cooking. Yeah, I think I was cooking. But I cut myself too short because I didn't know I was going to burn in the kitchen, so I shut up. But I think I was cooking. I think I made Gordon Ramsay proud, at least for a little bit. Lumian surveyed the area for a moment and attentively confirmed that there were no other creatures lurking about. Satisfied with his assessment, he cautiously made his way inside of the building, being mindful of the charred wood that would fall at any moment from midair. As he searched the room, his eyes landed on a broken pot in the corner of the house. There was a hint of gold shining through the cracks. Lumian approached the pot slowly and realized that this was a gold coin. Can it be true? There's actually treasure in the ruins of my dream. He picked up the gold coin and wiped it against his body. The patterns on the surface of the coin were revealed. The coin featured a man's portrait and carved on the front. His face was thin and his hair was parted 30... What the fuck does that mean? His hair was parted 30-70. There was a mustache on his lips and his gaze was rather firm. On the back was a bunch of sweet iris flowers surrounding a number 20. Lumian recognized the man depicted on the coin. Is it Rizzo? It was none other than the first president of the Inter Republic, Levin. I assume the X is silent, right? So it's not Levinx, it's Levin. It's actually a Louis Dior. Lumian was rather surprised. He could be hired in Audrey's mansion as a chef. I'm going to take that as a compliment. Thank you, brother. Personally, he could believe that the currency in his strange dream ruin was actually the currency of the Instant Republic in reality. And secondly, he had casually picked up something as valuable as Louis Dior. He knew that in the present day, the legal currencies of the Instant Republic were viralvideo and copit. One viralvideo was equivalent to 100 copit. Means 30% of hair on one side and 70% on the other. Longer on one side, basically. Okay, I did not know that. Thank you. Copper existed in the form of copper coins and silver coins. The copper coins were divided into 3 categories. 1 copit, 5... Oh, wait a second. We're not going with solis? New region, so it makes sense it's a different currency. 1 copit, 5 copits, 10 copits, whilst the silver coins had the denominations of 20 copits and 50 copits. Verdor could be found in the form of silver coins, gold coins, or banknotes. In silver coins, there was denominations of 1, 5, and 10 verdol. Different country, different money. Okay, that makes sense. While gold coins came in 5, 10, 20, 40, and 50 denominations. I do like, though, world building has been very fast paced. It's been a lot quicker. Like, we're kind of like, we're not skimming this new currency system, but we're going through it pretty quickly. Compared to like spending a whole chapter, it looks like it's only going to be a part of the chapter, I think. I might be wrong. Let's keep reading. We're barely in the beginning. The denomination of banknotes were even more varied, ranging from 5, 20, 50, 100, 200, 500, 1,000 verdor. In reality, the people of Inta still clung to the old currency units. For example, the most widely used 5 copper coins were known as lick. Fuck does that mean? Similarly, gold coins were worth 20 verl, were commonly referred to as Louis Dior. In the old currency era, Louis Dior had been known as Rizal, but as the Republic were established, the names were changed to Louis Dior in order to raise the Emperor Rizal's influence. Okay, that makes sense. As Lumian understood it, even in rural areas of the Cordu, a Louis Dior could sustain a poor family with fields for an entire month. He knew that without the Aurora's high income, he might never have been able to see what a Louis Dior looked like. It's like a nickel, names for certain numbers of money. In fact, in the entire village of Cordu, only the siblings and family of the administrator had ever seen or owned a Louis Dior. To any villager, the Louis Dior was an incredibly valuable gain. Unfortunately, this was just a dream. Lumian couldn't help but feel a pang of disappointment. This was something ordinary, making it unlikely he could bring it out of the dream. But even so, he handled the Louis Dior with great care and respect. Having spent much of his life wandering, he knew the value of every copit. And he knew that 1 Louis Dior was equivalent to 2,000 copits, which was equivalent to 1 gold pound in Lowen. Wait, I can't do math. Dior is pronounced like door. Oh, thank God. Okay. Oh, okay. I can just say door. I've been trying to go Louis Dior. Okay, so Louis Door. Ludor? Can I say Lil Door for short? Lil Door? And he knew that 1 Lil Door was equivalent to 2,000 copits, which was equal to 1 gold pound of Lowen Kingdom, though slightly less. According to the papers he had read, 24 verdol could only be exchanged for 1 gold pound. Wait, when does the music change? As Lumian moved cautiously through the ruined buildings. Okay. Louis is like you say, without the S. Oh wait, like Lewis Hamilton. So just Louis. Pronounced like Eudor? The door. Fucking shit, dude. Oh man, French is hard. All right. It's gonna take some practice. You gotta give me like 100 chapters. Ludor. Louidor. Okay. I'm gonna say Lodor right now. Just while we practice. Lumian continued to search for any written information that could shed a light on the ruins of their history. He wanted to see if the place corresponded to a certain location in reality, and whether a village in Inter-Republic had been transported into the dream world. The appearance of the Louidor had only fueled his curiosity. As Lumian moved cautiously through the ruined buildings, his eyes fell upon a spot where a stove had once stood. Now stained with a dark red color, blood, his pupils dilated as he quickly made a guess. Oh shit. No, Nani? Wall closing in? Your Louis was good right now. Oh, really? Hell yeah, dude. All right, let's fucking go. Action time. Shit, I skipped a sentence. I read a monster. Fuck, wait. Ah, shit, wait, I lost my place. I got a little excited. We're playing walls closing in and I lost my fucking place. One sec, awkwardly pausing. Found my place. Blood, his pupils dilated as he quickly made a guess. Immediately after, he made a judgment. Although it wasn't fresh, it hadn't yet turned black. It looked as though it had just dripped there 2 or 3 days prior, or perhaps even more recently. As his heart began to race, Lumian suddenly felt the light around him dim. As if something had silently blocked the light filtered through the dense fog from above. The memory of the past attacks flooded Lumian's mind like a turbulent wave, causing him to react instinctively. Without a thought, he lunged forward and wrapped his body in mid-air, rolling on the ground to avoid any potential danger. Thump. A loud thump echoed through the air as something heavy fell behind him. Lumian quickly rolled to the left side of his dilapidated stove, using a nearby rock to leverage himself around. As he rose his feet, the axe at the ready, he saw an additional figure. Another figure? He saw an additional figure standing where he had just been moments ago. Is it a shadow? The dim light made it difficult to discern whether it was human or some kind of humanoid creature. The figure lunged in front of Lumian was unlike anything he had ever seen before. It was a monster with no clothes or shoes to speak of. Did I pause? No. The figure hunched in front of Lumian was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was a monster with no clothes or shoes to speak of. Its skin had been peeled off, revealing the red muscles, blood vessels, and yellowed fascia beneath. Sticky liquid dripped from its body, yet it didn't fall to the ground. The eternal blazing sun burned another victim because the monster directly looked at him. Just like it happened to Klein in Volume 1. I have a good memory. See, I've never had a bad memory, man. It was all engagement bait. It was a monster. His eyes seemed to be embedded in its face, and its mouth hung open with all its might, revealing uneven teeth and a long drool of saliva. And it lost control. That's what it is. You think any random guy can look at Eternal Blazing Sun? It's true. Well, we are under his dream, right? All right, you're right. Not just any old little schmuck can look at him. Despite the ghost stories Lumian had fabricated in the past, he never expected to encounter such an evil spirit in real life. Whoosh. The stench of blood filled Lumian's nostrils as the painting of the monsters filled his air. Instinct took over Lumian as he dodged to the side, narrowly avoiding the blood-red monster's attack. Lumian knew that he had Aurora's guidance and years of experience fighting on the streets to thank for his quick reflexes. Without them, he might have not been able to react in time. Taking a deep breath to calm himself, Lumian charged after the monster had pounced on him. With his sharp axe in hand, he swung with all his might and struck the monsters in the back. Bang! Lumian's axe felled the monster's mid-turn, sending a spray of pus and blood in every direction. Fucking it's fucking gross. Lumian's axe fell the monster mid-air, sending a spray of pus and blood in every direction. Without a moment's hesitation, Lumian knelt down on one knee and raised his axe again, ready to strike another blow. Bang, bang, bang. Again and again, Lumian swung his axe with precision and force, each strike slicing through the monster's flesh and leaving a deep white cracks on the back of its head, neck, and back. Finally, the monster lay still, defeated by Lumian's fierce barrage of blows, and his shadow grows ever stronger. Look at that. Do you guys catch that Shadow Slave reference? Huff, huff. You don't act as terrifyingly as you look. Lumian heaved a sigh of relief, his voice tinged with a hint of mockery. He whipped his face with his left hand, then used it to wipe off the blood on his other hand. Is this monster's bodily fluids poisonous for the time being? There's no pain of the fluids eating at me. Lumian began to worry about another problem. Just as Lumian mustered up his courage and was about to search the monster's body, he was caught off guard by the sudden movement. The skinless, blood-colored monster propped itself up with both hands and bounced up again as if it were still alive. It isn't dead yet. Despite being slashed to such a state, it seemed that the monster was still alive. Lumian was shocked and afraid. Fear and trepidation took hold of Lumian. Trepidation. I have used that word in my vocabulary in the past. Trepidation. If Lumian had been facing normal humans, beasts, or monsters, he would have not been so afraid, even if he couldn't defeat them. But this monster in front of him seemed unkillable, rendering Lumian's every move useless. Taking advantage of the monster's brief disorientation, Lumian made a quick decision. He propped himself up with his feet, exerted strength on his knees, and ran. He ran widely. Thud, thud, thud. He ran with all his might, but he could feel the monster's breath on his back of his neck, and the sound of its heavy breathing echoed in his ear. The monster followed closely behind him. Despite his fear, Lumian gritted his teeth and allowed his fear to push himself to run even faster, surpassing his previous limits. To his delight, he soon realized that the distance between him and the monster was no longer shortening. Thud, thud, thud. You know what? I do like that we're jumping into a fight right away. It's not a Beyonder fight, but we did get a fight a lot earlier than in fucking LOTM. Like, we only had like scuffles and like chase scenes, man, up until the harbor fight. And I know this isn't like harbor fight level yet, but this is still cool, dude. Lumian finally reached his semi-subterranean 2-story building. Oh, this is the cover. This is his 2-story building in his dream, and it's gonna be on fire later. Ah, fuck, I lost my place. Then he focused on the door, but then he heard the sounds of the monster running footsteps fading away. He waited by the monster, didn't try to slam through the door. It knows that I'm lying in ambush here. Lumian couldn't believe that the monster had higher intelligence. He slowly moved towards the window near the door and peeked out. Suddenly a face appeared on the glass, a bloody, skinless mess with uneven teeth. Oh, that's fucking hype. Lumian froze for a moment, his heart almost stopping. To Lumian's surprise, the monster didn't try to break the glass or attack him. Instead, it simply met his gaze. Oh my god, that's good. I really hope we're always cooking. So far, we haven't burned the kitchen. As I will continue to cook, I really hope both Lumian and Aurora join the Terror Club. And now we experience the Terror Club through the eyes of a member's perspective, right? Oh, it'll be so good. Oh, it's gonna be so sick. Lumian snapped out of his daze and retreated, brandishing the long fork with both hands. The monster left the window. Lumian watched cautiously, observing its movements as it lingered into the light fog for a while before finally retreating back to its ruins. Lumian was at a loss. He had been prepared to trap the monster and make a quick escape. Ooh, my back. From the dream, but the creature had simply left without attacking. After some thought, a possibility occurred to Lumian. Perhaps the monster is afraid to enter my house. Yes, there's no sign of damage to the house at all. In this dream, this is an absolutely safe place. With this realization, Lumian felt a sense of relief wash over him. Lumian was hit with a wave of exhaustion the next second. The short chase had taken more out of him. Just like this chapter's taking more out of me because they're so long and I'm out of breath, man. The short chase had taken more out of him than an entire afternoon of combat training. Lumian made his way upstairs to his bedroom, clutching the pitchfork and axe tightly in his hands. As he laid down on the bed, Lumian attempted to fall asleep. Lumian opened his eyes, feeling disorientated and groggy. Outside of the curtains, it was still dark, and the room was shrouded in shadows. For a moment, Lumian couldn't tell if he was still in a dream world or if he had somehow returned to reality. But then he noticed the lack of gray fog and the fact that he was wearing his pajamas, and he realized that he must have woken up. Or is it a dream within a dream, like an Inception? Lumian is a video game MC. He has a safe zone. He has a safe zone, and there's like an invisible barrier that prevents any harm from him. That's so funny. I woke up early because of the fright. Lumian muttered to himself, subconsciously patted the pockets of his pajamas. But when he didn't feel the weight of Louisdor, he felt a pang of disappointment. It confirmed another fact. The money couldn't be bought out of the dream world. Oh, so you can't bring it out. Okay. Well, at least yet. Lumian took a deep breath and composed himself, the thought turning to a serious problem. How was he supposed to deal with the unkillable monster? Well, Lumian knew that he could bypass the area and enter stealthily. He also knew that this was not a long-term solution to the possibility of encountering... Fuck did I just say? The possibility of encountering similar monsters in the future was already there. It's probably more likely. It's gonna be higher. And he couldn't afford the risk of his life being unprepared. Alright. That was chapter 10. Our first milestone, man. Oh, wait a sec. I just realized chapter 10 is kind of cropped out up here, man. I just realized that. Let's fix that. There you go. Chapter 10. Now that we finished 10, we reach chapter 11. I don't know, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what's going to be his pathway. The fact that there's 52 new minor arcanas leads me to believe that there's going to be new pathways and not just like one new pathway. And then the fact that he drew the 7 wands makes me think, oh shit, he's going to be able to like main 7 different weapons. But let's pause, update. Let me sip my water. And let's keep reading. All right, enough stalling. Chapter... Well, why did I put a chapter 101? What the fuck? I put chapter 101. Chapter 11. Yeah, we're not at 101 yet. Well, no. Oh my goodness. Chapter 11. After we stalled. Why is there Shadow Slave talking my COI stream? Yeah, not today. Chapter 11 is called Madame Pualis. I'm going to take... No, I'm going to record. No, double check. The videos have been consistent. The azure sky was speckled with fluffy white clouds, gently blown by the spring breeze that carried with it the fragrance of the forest. White geese pecked at the lush grasses, grazing beside the meandering river. A lass draped... Am I recording? Yeah, we're recording. A lass draped in a grayish-white fork stood intently, observing them with a long pole in their hands. Her countenance was bathed in the golden sun rays, exposing her thin, downy hair. The girl's brown tresses, elegantly tied with white cloth, revealing her youthful and lively features. Glancing at Lumian, sitting under a tree by the river, Ava Lizier scrunched her face slightly. As we not here to discuss which legend is easy to investigate, we have... Oh my god. Why have you turned into a stone and statue? Oh my god, man. I stall for a few minutes and I forget how to read. Why have you turned into a stone statue reminiscent of the ones from the cathedral? Ava was the daughter of the... Oh my god, the name. It's consistent as whiz. Ava was the daughter... Hey, you guys have been reading 2 chapters. At least I have been reading 4 so far. Hey, hold up. We'll have 2 videos out, right? Hold up. There's only 2 videos. Hold up. Chill. Hold up. I think we're beating Wiz already. Ava was the daughter of the Guillaume Lizier, the shoemaker, being one of the few youths in the village. She had an amicable relationship with Lumian and Raymond. I'm contemplating a problem, Lumian responded, still gazing at the white geese that rippled waters. What problem? Inquiring Raymond Gregg, who was tending to Ava's flock of geese. Lumian pondered before replying, what if you come across a beast with a thick hide that your weapon cannot pierce? What would you do? Obviously, I'd find a way to flee. The mountains are teeming with wild beasts. We need not hunt it, Ava replied, feeling that there was nothing to worry about. Lumian grunted in disagreement. We're going to see you, don't worry. What if the beast is exactly rare and the lords in the city adore it and are willing to pay 100 lowest door for its carcass? 100 lowest door, 2,000 verdor. Raymond breathed heavily. He had never seen a lotus door before, nor had he ever used one. His instinct was to convert it into a verdor first. With such a hefty sum of money, he could start a small business in Dirage. He wouldn't have to fret over the shepherding anymore. Man, these mispronunciations. I'm so sorry. He quickly thought and suggested borrow a shot. What? He's gonna borrow a shotgun? The beast's skin cannot be penetrated. Lumian rejected flatly, even though she knew that the prey was just a figment of imagination with no value in the real world. She couldn't help herself. Is it a powerful creature? Fierce. Lumian paused to consider her question. It's about as fierce as me. That was all the assurance he needed to continue his hunt. Raymond, who was holding his breath, let out a sigh of relief. Good, go back to the village and round up some people. We'll surround the beast and drain its strength. Once it's down, we'll tie it up. He knew that Lumian couldn't fight, but that was all. In that case, we can only expect to get 10 Louis d'Or or even less, Lumian reminded. Ava, with her strung lake blue eyes, had an idea. I've seen them hunt. Maybe we can dig a trap and make it fall. That way we won't have to worry about it getting back up. Lumian nodded his approval. That's a good idea. Realizing that Ava and Raymond had little to offer in terms of planning, Lumian took control of the conversation. Which legend do you think we should target next? He asked. Ava shook her head. Neither of them fit the bill. They're either centuries old or were only seen by one person who is long dead. Raymond agreed. That's right. If you don't ask the right folks, how would you know that there ain't no clues? Lumian clicked his tongue and chuckled. You lot don't have any grit. If you want to give up the first sign of trouble, you might as well be tending geese and sheep for the rest of the days. Ava and Raymond were fuming at Lumian's words. When it came to riling people up, Lumian was one of the best in all of Cordu. Ava blurted out, I don't think any of them are suitable, because there was more suitable ones. What is it? Lumian's eyes sparked with interest. As soon as Ava spoke, she regretted it, but she'd been planning to bring up this issue. She just didn't want to reveal it to Lumian and Raymond so easily. After a few seconds to the tense silence, she glared at Lumian. There's a real witch in the village. Oh, you don't say. Who is it? Lumian's heart tightened. Could it be Aurora? If Ava found out the Aurora was a warlock, he and Aurora would have to flee Cordu and go somewhere else to avoid the Inquisition's wrath. Ava looked around nervously and lowered her voice. Madame Pualis. Madame Pualis, the administrator's wife and the Padre's mistress. Lumian found it hard to believe. Are you serious? If Pualis was indeed a witch, how could Lumian have missed it when he found out about the lady's affair with the Padre? No way. I mean, she must be good at hiding it. No way. Raymond was expectantly surprised. Ava tiptoed and looked in the direction of the village entrance. I'm not certain, but Charlie, the administrator's valet, let it slip once. He told me that Madame Pualis is a soul messenger who can talk. A soul messenger, you say? Who can talk to the dead and help them return home. He also said that she can create secret medicines and charms. Lumian listened intently, but remained skeptical. With magazines like Psychic Lotus and Hidden Vial flooding the market, it was uncommon for the administrator's wife to be familiar with such terms and trick the servants' villagers. We should go to the cathedral and snitch, said Raymond, his eyes wide with excitement. Lumian paused before responding. If Charlie knows that Madame Pualis is a witch, then the administrator should know as well, right? Oi, agreed, Ava. Lumian continued. Madame Pualis is also the Padre's mistress. If we go to the cathedral and snitch on her, we will probably be sent straight by the administrator. The plot thickens. It does indeed. What? Madame Pualis is the Padre's mistress. Dude, this fucking Padre, man, he's insane. This guy, he needs God. The Padre actually genuinely needs God. Ava and Raymond were shocked. I saw it with my own eyes. Lumian chuckled. Pretend you don't know. Don't tell anyone, otherwise you might disappear one day. Yep, that's exactly what happened to the last person. Ava and Raymond agreed in unison, their expressions unusually solemn, their face of the Padre and the witch interweaved. If we can confirm that Madame Pualis is witch, we'll go to Darridge and tell the bishop at mass. Lumian shared them. Oi. Raymond nodded fervently. Padre is a Chad. He fucked a mayor wife. It's insane, dude. This guy's fucking wild, bro. Oi. Raymond nodded fervently. They had to be sure before they snitched, otherwise they would have been in trouble if Madame Pualis was innocent. After discussing these matters, Lumian, who didn't want to waste any time, stood up and said to Ava and Raymond, I'm off back to my studies, otherwise Aurora would be chasing me with a wooden stick. You two take care of the geese. Okay, Raymond was thrilled at the prospect of being left alone with Ava. Ava looked displeased. Raymond is happy, and Ava's like, ah, fuck. Ava looked displeased. As Lumian approached Cordu, he began to hide his tracks, constantly paying attention to whether there was anyone nearby. He had to be careful, especially now that Padre and his crew were on his tail. Oh, they're probably still going to jump him, right? According to his observations, the Padre Guillaume Bennett was not one to forgive easily. He made his way towards Old Tavern, trying to stay as inconspicuous as possible. Suddenly, he heard the sound of the bells ringing in the distance. Lumian turned to see Raymond, Leia, and Valentine approaching, Naroka, and the others. The bells of Leia's veil and boots rang clearly and melodiously. They've been wandering around the village for the past 2 days, chatting with people and asking questions. I don't know what they are up to. Lumian was puzzled and a little wary. As he thought about the deserted town square and the shepherds Pierre Barry, who had returned to the village unexpectedly, Lumian knew that something was about to go down. If something about to happen in the village, he needs to speak to Aurora, his smart and knowledgeable sister, and get her opinion. Lumian managed to sneak into Old Tavern, spotted the woman who had given him the tarot card, sitting in her usual spot eating. Lumian leaned over, took a glance. Omelette au lard? Omelette au lard. Don't you find it a little too cloying? Cloying is a word? And it's just the beginning of the novel? Oh, man, does it get freakier? MF moving like Zeus? And your age, this dish was... This dish was a go-to for ordinary folks to impress their fancy guests. Lumian, however, had his doubts about it being too greasy and heavy for city women. The lady savored a slow bite of the golden omelet and shut her eyes to savor it. It's a real gem. It's got the local flavor that's just exquisite. You're having lunch so early? Lumian asked, seated across from her. The lady's light blue eyes betrayed a hint of exhaustion as she smiled and replied, it's breakfast. And not only are we ahead of schedule, the second shout, the COI video goes live in an hour and a half. So it's still pretty consistent. It's breakfast. What time is it? Lumian didn't dare let it slip his thoughts. He scanned the nearly empty old tavern and hushed his voice. I saw a ruin in my dream and came across a monster. Oh, the lady didn't bat an eye. Her expression even held a hint of teasing mischief that Lumian couldn't quite decipher. Lumian composed himself and recounted his tale. How do I vanquish this monster? The lady beamed and countered. Is it dead or alive? It's still kicking. I can't seem to kill it. Lumian trailed off the answer in reflex. He pondered in earnest for a beat before replying slowly. I can feel it breathing, so it's gotta be alive. If it's still breathing, then try harder. Lop off its head or pour oil and light it up. Bury it alive even. Who knows, it might just kick the bucket, the lady suggested nonchalantly while relishing her meal. When you've exhausted all options and still come up short, then come to me, but I'm not your nanny who'll coddle you through every little problem. If you want to learn, you've got to figure it out on your own. She's quite the charmer. Lumian wasn't crestfallen or dispirited. It seemed the lady was hinting that she had leaned a handful of things got truly dire. Let me read that again. It seemed the lady was hinting that she'd lend a hand if things got truly dire. And a monster like this wasn't even worth mentioning. Really? It's not even worth her time? But what trivial can be a real headache, Lumian felt a migraine coming up. He resolved to heed the lady's advice. He'd start by trying to behead it, burn it alive, bury it alive, and anything else he could think of. All right. I guess we're going to get another fight this soon. All right. The fact that next chapter is called Undercurrents makes me think that it might be the River of Eternal Darkness, right? Like that's going to be our next Sephiroth. Maybe I'm wrong. We're about to find out. Let's keep reading. Chapter 12, Undercurrents. Chapter 12 is called Undercurrents. As Lumian... Am I right on my timestamps? Okay, we are right. Chapter 12 is called Undercurrents. Hey, I'm good. I just hurt my finger. Look, you guys want to see how broken my finger is? This one can't be straight. No matter how much I try to straighten it out, it's crooked. I heard it. I heard it. I think I broke it when I was a kid. So look, I can put this one straight-ish, but this one is always crooked. See the difference? Oh man, let's keep reading. But yeah, we good. As Lumian left Old Taverner, he resumed his fictitious ways, soaking down the path he had always took home. Damn, hey, look, I'll give you guys a close-up right now. Sure enough, he spotted one of Pons Bennett's goons hiding behind a tree, spying on passerby. The Padre doesn't know when to quit, Lumian muttered to himself, but Lumian couldn't retaliate. His personal abilities were limited, and he couldn't risk bringing attention to the Church of the Eternal Blazing Sun. My finger hurt just by looking at it. I'll show you guys a close-up right now. I should probably get it checked out, because then also my index finger hurts a lot every time I put pressure on it. And so it's like, I don't want to ruin another fucking finger on my left hand. I gotta fucking take care of myself, man. His personal abilities were limited, and he couldn't risk bringing attention to the Church of the Eternal Blazing Sun in the Drage region. The Inquisition would be all over him in a heartbeat, which could spell doom for the Aurora. Unless Lumian was pushed to the brink and had no other choice but to abandon the town, his only option was to expose Padre's unsavory activities and force him to retire to a cloister. But that was easier said than done. Lumian needed to be careful and cunning, just like when he let the foreigners discover the Padre's affair with Madame Pualis. Lumian didn't want to make a big fuss about it. He knew that Beost, the administrator and terrible judge, was a stickler for his reputation. If Lumian brought Madame Pualis' predicament to light, he wouldn't get any favors in return. No, would it be more likely that Beost would turn on him, filled with bile and vitriol. That would leave Lumian with little choice but to flee Cordu. With both the Padre and Administrator hot on his heels, he proceeded with caution, taking a detour through a narrow alley that weaved between several houses. Along the way, Lumian relied on his wits that the surroundings to conceal himself. He ducked behind the wall, slipped through the door, and took refuge behind the trees when necessary. As he neared the end of the alley, he heard the sounds of voices. Oh shit, is it the Padre? Guillaume, why waste our time chasing that kid all day? Let's go to Aurora's house tonight and catch him. We have the advantage of numbers, and Aurora's fighting skills ain't enough to stop us. We can even get reinforcements from the city if needed. What the fuck? They can get reinforcements for that? Guillaume, the Padre, is here too. Lumian stopped, retreating into the corner to eavesdrop on the conversation to see what plans the Padre had for him. Guillaume Bennett's voice was mesmerizing. Surely you don't think that the extent of Aurora's capabilities, I wouldn't be surprised if she had supernatural abilities beyond mine. Oh, even him. Pons Bennett was obviously surprised. A witch, you say? Guillaume, maybe it's time for you to venture to Dayrage and seek out the Inquisition. If you can catch a true witch, the church will undoubtedly grant you a great reward. And with that, you may finally attain the extraordinary strength what the fuck is you've been yearning for all these years. Imbecile. Guillaume Bennett scolded his brother. Don't you know what's happening in this village? The Inquisition has noses like hounds. They won't overlook any anomalies. When the time comes, you will be in hot waters. Even if Aurora's desire is to deal with us, I have no other solutions, he said. We must arouse the Inquisition's attention. So what is happening in the village now? Lumian took this seriously and was cautious. Combining his observations and abnormalities, he sensed something terrible was brewing and developing in the village like a turbulent undercurrent under the calm sea. To Lumian's dismay, Pons Bennett didn't elaborate on this topic. Instead, he focused on something else. Do you have any way to deal with Wiz? Oh! Anime Wiz! Made a cameo in COI! Oh, snap! The homie made a cameo. Do you have any way to deal with Anime Wiz? A witch? Oh, wait, he is not a witch. Hold up. You don't need to know of the Padre. Guillaume Bennett responded in a hushed tone. Next, we can put aside dealing with Lumian, but we still have to maintain appearances. We can't let anyone suspect my desire for revenge. That will provide the connections the foreigners need and have a negative impact. What you need to do now is to remind each relevant person and scare those yolks who might notice. Don't let them spill the beans in front of those foreigners. Guillaume, you mean that those foreigners are here to investigate that matter? Pons Bennett appeared fearful and concerned. Look at you. He hasn't been streaming recently? But no Easy? Easy will appear soon. You know what's funny? I was watching a stream the other day. I lied. I was watching Maximilian, dude. And he was all like, Easy. And I was like, huh? I had it playing on the TV and I was like, wait, what the fuck? He called me and I was like, oh, wait. He meant the game is easy. Look at you, all brawn, no brains. You're nothing like your brother, a natural board leader. Lumian mocked Pons Bennett inwardly. Despite his disdain for the Padre, whom he saw as a crude and greedy stallion rather than a man with a cloth, Lumian couldn't deny that he had a certain rugged charm. His direct, domineering style and clean mind won over the masses in the countryside, making it easy for them to idolize and rely on him. Guliang Bennett sneered, "No need to worry, so long as those foreigners don't find any real evidence, I'm still the Padre of Cordu. Pawns, you need to understand that ruling through the fear and intimidation wouldn't lead to any peace or prosperity. The church doesn't want a ruined town that can't pay the taxes. We need friends and followers to maintain control. By offering them protection, we can gain their support. The church trusts us locals with our relatives, friends, and followers to handle matters that here and doesn't bring in outsiders who could make a mess. As long as there's no solid evidence, the higher-ups will continue to believe in me. Alright, I'm off to the cathedral. That does sound logical and persuasive, but your wisdom and insight are limited to derage. Aurora told me that when the church confronts villages that are overrun with evil gods, they obliterate them entirely and raze the lands to the ground. They don't just slay the adults, but even the kids. What the fuck, man? That is crazy. Lumian found himself almost swayed by Guillaume Bennett's words. Luckily, Aurora had warned him about the fearsome reputation of the Church of the Eternal Blazing Sun and the Church of God of Steam and Machinery. After the Padre, Lumian took a different path and made it back home unscathed. Aurora, clad in a pristine apron, bustled about the oven. What are you up to? Lumian inquired with curiosity. It was still 2 hours to lunchtime. Aurora tucked a strand of her blonde locks behind her and beamed. Trying out a new toast recipe, rice bread. You don't have to go through all the trouble. Lumian was moved to his core. He believed that Aurora was going out of her way to make something special just for him. Aurora giggled and retorted, "What are you thinking about? Can you be any more self-absorbed? For me, baking is a form of amusement. It's a great way to pass the time. You get it. Then why don't you like going out? There's plenty of fun out there." Lumian probed as he loses his place. Oh, found his place. He always felt Aurora was a homebody. I thought I said homeboy. Aurora's a homeboy. Aurora was a homebody because she was too concerned about the risks of her warlock status posed. Aurora swiveled her head and shot him a withering glare. "You mean drinking and gambling? Remember, I'm my own person, not relying or attaching to others." Lumian grasped the first half of the statement, but was at a loss with the latter. Can you expound on that? Aurora gave him a deadly glare. Long story short, your sis is a major introvert most of the time. What do you mean most of the time? Lumian queried, confused, or queried? Is it queried or Lumian queried, or is it Lumian queried?
Lumian queried.
Lumian queried? Lumian queried, confused. Humans are walking contradictions. Aurora mused, turning back to the oven. Don't you recall? Sometimes I'm a chatterbox, eager to venture out and listen to the old lady's gossips. Other times I'll pay you with the kids and the regal, then with tales. Ever so often I'll cut loose and ride Madame Pualis' horse around the mountains, hollering at the top of my lungs. At that time you shone like a dew-kissed rose, luring people and only to prick them. Lumian couldn't help but grumble to himself. Since Madame Pualis was mentioned, Lumian decided to change the subject. Aurora, Grande Suor. Aurora, big sister. Aurora, big sister, I heard a rumor about Madame Pualis. What is it? Aurora did not hide her curiosity. We learned a new French word. What is it? Aurora did not hide her curiosity. She was a warlock who can talk to the dead. Lumian related to his sister what Ava had divulged. He also brought up the anomaly he had observed at Guillaume Bennett's comments. Aurora halted her work and listened to her brother's account intently. Her mien grew noticeably graver. After Lumian had finished, Aurora offered him a smile and assuaged his fears. Don't fret too much. Those 3 foreigners must be here for something the Padre and his comrades did in secret. It might have to do with Madame Pualis. Don't mess with Madame Pualis for now. I'll keep an eye on them, explore the village more, mingle with those foreigners, and try to suss out what's going on. Compared to that, the lady who gave you the wand card is far more intriguing. I mean, kinda? I feel like she's already the most intriguing side character, right? Like, what does she know? And then she said, we'll only talk after you get your abilities or whatever. If things do deteriorate, we must contemplate departing Cordu. We can start making arrangements now. Okay, Lumian nodded in agreement. After a brief silence, he inquired curiously, Aurora, if we must depart Cordu, when do we envision moving forward? Trier. Aurora declared without hesitation. Trier was the capital of Inter Republic, the apex of culture and art across the continent. Why? Despite considering Trier himself, Lumian posed the question casually. Every Intisian coveted a chance to visit Trier. In the eyes of the Triers, there were only two types of individuals in Intis: Triers and outsiders. Trier. So it's the type, it's like the locals. The locals are called Triers. In Trier. Got it. And outsiders. Aurora responded nonchalantly. A prophet once said, as long as Trier endures, mirth and glee will never falter. I'm sorry, a prophet? Who is this prophet we speak of? Damn, it took us an hour to get through 4 chapters. That is insane, man. I'm telling you, these are girthy chapters. Chapter 13 is called Attempt. We made it to chapter 5 before we hit an hour. Oh, music change. You're right. Music change. There we go. Let's play whilst closing in. Chapter 13 is called Attempt. It was dead of the night and all was quiet. Lumian stirred in his dream once more. The first thing he glimpsed was a faint gray mist. On impulse, he reached into his shirt pocket with his hand. The frigid sensation of the cold, hard metal immediately registered in his mind. Sorry, I have to burp. He retrieved the object's head, felt a glint of gold illuminating his eyes. It was a gold coin. A Ludor. It's still here. Lumian sat up, peered down at himself. He still donned the cut-on attire, pants, and leather jackets from his expedition. The nearly 2 meter long... Hold up. The nearly 2 meter long steel pitchfork. Oh, I scrolled down too much. Oh no, I lost my place. The nearly 2 meter long steel pitchfork and sharp iron black axe rested with arm's reach. This was precisely the same coordination condition as when he exited the dream. Okay, so we're in the same stalemate. I'm gonna lower the volume for you guys just a little smidge. This was precisely the same condition as when he had exited the dream. In other words, this dream is persistent. It doesn't reset with each entry. Lumian, so it's not like, okay, that's pretty good. It's not a roguelike. You just keep going. Lumian fiddled with the... So he really is like a video game NPC, or a video game MC. Lumian fiddled with the Lewis door and slipped it into his cotton shirt inner pocket. Though it couldn't be actualized, it was still a joy to have. Lumian rose from the bed and gazed out... Lumian rose from the bed and gazed out the window from a spell, ensuring the red mountain peak and the ruins hadn't changed. He hoisted his axe and pitchfork and departed his chamber and entered the dimly lit corridor. Aurora's bedroom and study doors remained ajar. Lumian studied them briefly, then suddenly conceived an idea. Indeed, Dream My Room is practically identical to reality. It contains all the expended elements. Aurora's room appeared the same at first glance. However, can I locate her witchcraft notebook's secret potion formula, or learn how to become a warlock in her quarters? This notion was akin to a devil's whisper, causing Lumian's heart to race. He was tempted to try. Can't wait until Lumian gets COI system. Oh, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. The notion was akin to a devil's whisper, causing Lumian's heart to race. He was tempted to try it. Compared to exploring the unknown, hazardous, enigmatic ruins, sifting through Aurora's room was simpler, safer option. No. Lumian shook his head vigorously and cast the idea aside. He'd rather take his chances than violate Aurora's privacy. He wouldn't venture into his bedroom without her approval. This was due to his respect for Aurora. If it wasn't for Aurora, he wouldn't have perished as a child on the street 5 years ago. Lumian withdrew his pained gaze and made his way to the stairs. If the occupant of the room wasn't Aurora, he would have already delved into the system for useful information. Once downstairs, Lumian didn't hasten his departure. Instead, he inspected the provisions in the kitchen. The olive oil, corn oil, and animal fat the Aurora had amassed were neatly arranged in buckets and cans, just like in reality. Almost instinctively, Lumian lifted the bucket of corn oil and positioned it near the stove. His sole reason for selecting it was that the animal fat and olive oil were pricier. Then he adeptly kindled a blaze in the hearth with his coal and wool and fashioned a couple of torches to ignite. He was preparing to incinerate that monster. Naturally, it would be preferable if there were other options. That was a last resort. After completing their task, he retrieved his axe, opened the door, and departed. Lumian then observed something unusual. The faint gray mist that suffused the dream felt more humanoid than before. The ground beneath his feet was also slightly muddy. It rained. This place persists and develops naturally according to certain laws when I'm absent or dreaming. Lumian was somewhat taken aback, but he had an inkling that it was only fitting. Recalling Aurora's bizarre tales, he suddenly had a notion. This can't be the real world, can it? My dream is connected to the genuine world. The tarot cards enabled me to traverse the barrier between dream and the ruins while conscious. Lumian swiftly surveyed its surroundings and realized that an endless gray fog bordered both sides of the ruins on the dream's periphery. Damn, what's going on with the fucking gray fog in this one, dude? I'll check later. I won't venture into the ruins. I'll stroll out of the gray fog and see if it's a surreal and irrational dream. The plot thickens indeed, as always, man. Dream after passing through the gray fog, or there's a tangible land, sky, village, and town. If it were the former, it signified that this place was still a dream. If it wasn't, Lumian had to confirm which world this was. He surmised at the base of the usage of the Lua door. This place still appeared to be an Intis Republic, but it might not be the present era. It could be a location that had vanished decades or centuries ago. However, Lumian sensed that there was a high likelihood that he wouldn't be able to exit the encompassing gray fog. He gathered his thoughts and proceeded towards the ruins. He didn't forget that the purpose of entering the dream was to attempt to contend with that monster, and we will prevail. After traversing 100 to 200 meters in muddy wilderness riddled with gravel and crevices, Lumian abruptly halted. He thought of a problem. He overlooked something in his preparations earlier. Previously, his two-story abode lacked any flames. It was quite secure in this world, cloaked in gray fog, but now it had a blazing furnace that emitted light. Would it draw any swarm of monsters and render the safe zone unsafe? Lumian instinctively turned his head and peered into the directions he had come from. He observed that a scarlet gleam had been etched on various glass windows at the base of the half-submerged two-story structure in the faint gray mist. It was akin to a beacon in the dark world. Ooh, dark world, more like dark dream, right? Did you guys catch that Dunkwa reference? Considering that a considerable amount of time had elapsed, it was evidently too late to attempt to extinguish the fire. Oh, I can see the cover art appearing. It's too late to put out the fire. Lumian hastened his pace and entered the ruins, taking refuge in a building that had crumbled due to a conflagration. He clipped the axe to the back of his belt and agilely scaled a wall, concealing himself in a shadowy nook separated by bricks and timbers. Lumian gazed at his home on the other side of the wilderness. As time ticked by, he didn't witness any monsters lured by the fire. Seems like the fire won't trigger any changes. At the very least, my house won't be besieged by monsters. Lumian breathed a sigh of relief. I mean, is that better than the fire, or is the fire better than that? This meant that even if he encountered any peril, as long as he could flee home promptly and slumber as soon as possible, he could successfully elude it. He began to contemplate how to entice and eliminate the previous monsters. From their brief skirmish, he had deduced that its strength, speed, reaction time, and agility were similar to his, but he could sense that it fought on instinct. It lacked sufficient experience, expertise, or considering it alien intelligence. That's why he had been able to counter and slay it when it ambushed him. It'll also be bewildered, taken aback. It's not dissimilar to humans. Other than combat techniques, I have two other advantages over it. Firstly, I possess superior intelligence. Second, very, very smart, very demure. He possesses superior intelligence. Secondly, I know how to wield weapons and utilize tools. This is the greatest advantage humans possess over such monsters. As long as I'm cautious, defeating it again won't be arduous. The most crucial aspect is how to eradicate it completely. Just as Lumian was about to deliberately stir up some commotion to see if he could lure over some monster, he spied a figure stealthily approaching the utterly ruined house on the side. The figure was crimson and devoid of skin. Its muscles, blood vessels, and fascia were exposed. It was the monster from the last time. Unlike before, this monster was wielding a manure fork. It's know how to wield weapons too. Lumian contents stiffened as his expression turned grim. Unwittingly, his confidence waned a bit. As the monster drew closer in turn, Lumian perceived exaggerated wounds on its back, neck, and the nape of its neck. However, the fissures were no longer oozing pus and appeared to have mostly mended. It needed the one I encountered previously. Its self-healing ability is the many times superior to that of ordinary humans. Lumian gasped soundlessly. He compelled himself to compose and expeditiously assess the situation. What the fuck did I just read? He compelled himself to compose and expeditiously assess the situation. In the twinkling of an eye, Lumian arrived at the determination this was a prime opportunity, and he had to seize it when he encountered it. He couldn't let it slip by. He silently retrieved a stone brick beside him and awaited the monster's arrival. I'm sorry, he's going to hit him with a brick? At the desired location, in just a few strides, the monster entered Lumian's kill zone. Lumian abruptly hurled a stone brick to the ground behind the monster. Thud. The stone brick clattered, causing the monster to swivel around and scrutinize the assailant. Upon beholding this, Lumian seized the axe with both hands and pounced fiercely from the wall towards the monster. Bang! The axe descended heavily onto the monster's neck, cleaving it in two. With twin thuds, Lumian and the monster plummeted to the ground simultaneously. Lumian sprang up nimbly, seized his axe, and darted over, delivering weighty slash to the monster's neck. Once, twice, thrice, the monster didn't even get a chance to resist before its head was lopped off, and his shadow grows ever stronger. As the head rolled to the side, the skinless body convulsed twice and ceased movement. Lumian didn't halt there. He took a diagonal step, rotated his axe, and pulverized the vicious head when its thick back reducing to its fragments. Subsequently, he pivoted and hatched at the exposed muscles, blood vessels, and fascia, crushing the heart and other vital organs. Ew. After accomplishing all of this, Lumian took 2 paces backwards and surveyed his handiwork. He panted and chuckled softly. I thought you were truly invincible. Who'd have thought you possessed so little ability? Amidst the subdued laughter, the decapitated cadaver abruptly jolted upward. Lumian's pupils contracted, and he instinctively wished to pivot and flee. He forcefully quelled this impulse and strode forward once more, brandishing his axe. After the corpse bounced twice, it reverted to immobility, as if he had written in as if it had writhed in vain. Lumian scrutinized it a while longer and ultimately verified that the monster was wholly deceased. All right, we got another kill. How tenacious. Lumian sighed inwardly. Then he leaned over and crouched down. He employed his axe to pry open the muscles and fascias and scrutinized the corpse. The monster's body scrutinized wasn't dissimilar to humans, but its muscles were evidently more animated. Even though it was already dead, some of his incisions were still wriggling slightly. It's still moving, it's twitching. There's no treasure, nor is there any supernatural power transferred into my body. Lumian assessed his present state, and he felt somewhat disenchanted. I mean, he hasn't found a characteristic yet, at least yet. The adage that one grows stronger with each monster they slay indeed only existed in Aurora's tales. He then relocated the monster's corpse and headed into the ruins buildings and what the fuck is this word? He then relocated the monster's corpse and headed into the ruined buildings and entombed them with bricks and timber. Oh, it's like he's putting them in a tomb. Subsequently, he scoured the burnt down house, hoping to discover something. LOTM horror is good. I like it, man. It slaps, bro. I wonder, is there any artwork on these creatures that he's fighting? Or nah? Because the next chapter is called Different Monsters. So I assume we keep the music playing because we haven't said otherwise. But we're going to keep Walls Closing In playing. Entombed is to bury someone in a grave tomb. Got it. I figured the word tomb kind of gave it away, but I've never said the word entombed, so I had a hard time pronouncing it. After a bout of searching, Lumian stumbled upon a considerable number of gold coins. Oh, he's filthy rich. Of gold coins, silver coins, and copper coins. In total, there were 192 verdol and 25 copit. Among them, I'm gonna turn off the light though. Hold up. Just so I'm not hurting myself. So sorry if the lighting is a little bad. Just kind of gonna have to just bear with it, at least for today. Among them, Luidor alone constituted 5. As a paper bills, he only discovered some suspected remnants. Aside from the money, Lumian also discovered. Wait till you learn about defenestration. I cannot pronounce that word, nor do I know what that means, Beacon. I guess that's just a little teaser as to how bad of a pronunciation that fucking word was. I am sorry. I've never said that word in my life. Oh my goodness. Aside from money, Lumian also discovered a small blue book. The book had a grayish blue cover and measured approximately 21 by 28.5 centimeters, a typical size found in Inta's villages and towns. It was an Alemannic mixture with the religious teachings of two major churches. It had a rather positive effect of guiding farmers and herders to farm, produce, and graze to enrich their spiritual lives. Naturally, even though it had been nearly 2 centimeters since Emperor Rizal... Did I say centimeters? Centuries. It had been nearly 2 centuries since Emperor Rizal advocated compulsory education. There were still a large number of farmers, herdsmen, and workers who knew no more than a handful of words and were illiterate. They could only rely on the explanation of certain people around them to obtain the instructions they needed for the blue book, literally known as Livre Bleu, blue book. Lumian flipped through a few pages nonchalantly and realized that the Livre, I assume that means book, Livre Bleu, was no different from his own. It was just that it appeared a little older overall. There's a Livre Bleu and so much verdure. This family is undoubtedly well-to-do in the countryside. There aren't more than 5 such families in Cordoue. Lumian discarded the Livre Bleu and placed the gold coins, silver coins, and copper coins into different pockets. Some were stashed deep in the cotton shirt pockets, some were tucked into the pants pockets, and some were haphazardly stuffed into the pockets of leather jackets. Blue book. Got it. Thank you, D. Even though Lumian knew this wealth couldn't be brought to reality, he couldn't resist collecting it for safekeeping. I assume he's going to be able to spend the money in his dream. These little trinkets of gold, silver, and copper were simply irresistible. During his days as a vagrant, he cherished every coin he came across. Even if it was just a kopit or a lick, he often fought with others for them and took risks to obtain them. After scouting the area, Lumian hoisted his axe and crept towards the collapsed building, closer to the reddish-brown mountain peak. So he's getting closer. Okay, so we're going to find out what's going on. He proceeded deeper and deeper. Every time he had traversed the empty space in the center of the ring, he was apprehensive that dozens of monsters would suddenly ambush him in an area without cover. In the faint gray fog, Lumian crouched down and sneaked behind a half-collapsed stone wall. He squatted there and utilized it to conceal his form. He cautiously poked his head out and surveyed the area ahead. It was a narrow strip between 2 rows of destroyed buildings. There were no trees, no weeds, just gravel, crevices, and dirt. Suddenly, a figure jumped into Lumian's line of sight. It stood in the opposing building, staring at something. This figure was grabbed in black robe with a hood. From the back, there was nothing peculiar. It appeared to be an ordinary human. Lumian's heart constricted, and he became even more watchful. In such a dream ruin, the appearance of a regular person was far more terrifying than the appearance of a monster. As if sensing that someone was observing him, the figure swiveled around slowly. Lumian snuck a quick glance before retracting his head hastily. He leaned against the wall and didn't dare to budge. With just one look, he had the impression that he had descended into hell or an abyss. The abyss? Huh? Is it the abyss? The figure was indeed a human, but he had 3 faces and 6 eyes. The face in front of him had cloudy eyes, sparse eyebrows, and numerous wrinkles. He was evidently an old man. What the fuck? The left side was a chiseled face with sharp-looking blue eyes and a thick black beard, making him appear like a burly man. The skin on the right side of the smooth and delicate like a peeled egg. The blue eyes exuded obvious innocence and ignorance. It didn't seem a day or 5 years ago. What kind of monster is this? Lumian attempted to regulate his breathing to prevent his heart from racing. Such a monster had never surfaced, even in Aurora's horror tales. Only in the deepest and most absurd of nightmares could it be encountered. Although it was not good to judge a person by their appearance, Lumian instinctively sensed that 3-faced monsters was far more powerful than the skinless monsters from earlier. Furthermore, there was a high probability that it had exceptional abilities. Eternal Blazing Sun, Great Father, please protect me from being discovered by it. Upon witnessing this scene, Lumian couldn't help but pray to the Eternal Blazing Sun. If he weren't still clutching an axe in one hand and was in a perilous environment, he would have extended his arms, a gesture symbolizing the adoration of the sun. Are we going to praise the sun? At that moment, time appeared to stand still. Lumian believed he might be hallucinating. It was as if someone's stare pierced through the wall and landed on his back. His back stiffened instantly and felt somewhat warm. In just a second or two, the illusion vanished and heavy footsteps receded into the distance. Lumian waited a moment until the footsteps dissipated completely. Then he gradually straightened his knees, turned around, and poked his head out to survey the area ahead. The monster was farther away, having arrived behind the collapsed building, whose two sides still stood. Half of its body was visible in the faint gray mists. It still had his back to Lumian, as though it had transformed into a statue. Okay? Lumian breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't have the confidence to confront such a monster. It's definitely possible to venture deeper into the ruins from here. Should I circumvent it, won't there be comparable monsters elsewhere? The closer, I'm assuming they're gonna get harder and harder and scarier and more terrifying as we get closer, right? The closer I approach the mountain peak, the more potent the monsters that emerge. Yeah. Lumian retracted his body and deliberated for a while before deciding to conclude the night. He intended to inquire with the woman who gave him the tarot card after daybreak to see if there was a means of dealing with a three-faced monster. If there was no alternative, he would consider taking a detour. He arched his back, detached from the wall, and headed in the direction he came from. At that moment, he had a notion: if I slumber in these ruins, will I be able to escape the dream? Considering the possibility of numerous monsters in the vicinity, he suppressed the urge to exterminate for now. On the way back, he hastily searched every destroyed building he had passed, but he couldn't unearth any useful written information. There were only a few coins. After retreating for a while, Lumian conceived a notion and decided to take a detour. He approached the burned-out house that he had encountered first from the side, where he had buried the skinless monsters. He wanted to see if the monster's demise would be detached by the kin and if he would result in any changes. After locating the spot and concealing himself, Lumian poked his head out from the side and scrutinized the target area. In the following moment, he caught sight of another figure. The figure was half human and half beast. Its legs were bent forward as it squatted there and inspected the skinless monster's cadaver. It had already removed the stone bricks and wooden blocks that Lumian had stacked. It wore a dark jacket and relatively snug, muddy pants. Its black hair that hung to its neck was unkempt and greasy, and it carried a shotgun on its... What the fuck? Now it has a shotgun on its back? And it carried a shotgun on its back. A shotgun. Lumian averted his gaze hesitantly and withdrew his head. These monsters are truly absurd. They actually know how to wield a shotgun. I have never seen a monster wield a shotgun in a web novel. And we have only read very few web novels, but oh hell no, indeed, Cammy. At that moment, Lumian felt like he was a hunter hunting in the mountains with his weapon and comrades, only to discover that a rabbit opposite him, a rabbit you say, was clutching a water-cooled... What the fuck? The rabbit opposite of him was clutching a water-cooled machine gun. We have a water-cooled machine gun, and targeted them. He considered it ridiculous and immersion breaking as well as disappointing. What the fuck is this, dude? That's so weird. As time elapsed, he waited patiently for the monster with the shotgun to depart. It's not that uncommon. Monster carries shotgun. This video game is a fair def. It's like fucking. It's like a Dark Souls game, but like now it's like, oh yeah, they all enemy types have long range weapons, and you can't do anything. Finally, he discerned a faint sound of movement gradually receding. Lumian stuck his head out cautiously once again and examined the monsters with half human and half beast. It moved like a cat touring the back of the building. Initially, Lumian's heart ceased, but then his eyes widened. He realized that the path that the monster took was precisely the same as the route he took when he ventured deep into the ruins. It's tracking me. It has an extraordinary tracking ability. Lumian made a subconscious evaluation. He was excitingly grateful that he had opted for a detour when he had returned. Otherwise, he would have certainly collided with it and might have even been ambushed. As soon as the monster vanished, Lumian sprang up and dashed towards the house. The crimson fire that reflected in the glass window of the ground of the floor was akin to the sunlight that could dispel darkness. Ooh, let there be light. Okay. Lumian sprinted all the way to his two-story building, yanked open the unlatched door, and rushed inside. After locking the door, he gazed at the ruins through the window. Far from the gray mist at the edge of the ruins, there stood a faint figure, but it didn't approach. Few, Lumian exhaled and planned to extinguish the fire. The fire ascended upstairs to slumber and exit the dream. He glanced at the still burning fire and murmured to himself, "It can still burn for a while. I can expect I can experiment and see if it continues to burn until it extinguishes after I depart the dream, or if it's frozen in time for the moment I leave. I assume it will be frozen in time. Lumian had previously verified through the rain that the wilderness where the ruins were located was undergoing natural development. It had nothing to do with whether he was dreaming or not. Oh. But whether the same situation was transpiring in the house or the so-called safe zone remained to be verified. He acted on his notion. He added a few more coals to the fire and fiddled with them. Then he carried the axe and steel fork to the second floor and entered the bedroom. When Lumian arose, it was just after daybreak. Is it still in a dream? No. In real life. Okay. He inspected his shirt-like pajamas. As anticipated, he was disheartened to discover that the gold coins, silver coins, and copper coins did not accompany him into reality. I assume once he prevails his dream, then it will go to real life. But at least for now, that's why it's there. Lumian exited the bed and stretched his body. He sauntered to the desk and extended his hand to draw out the curtains. Amidst the sound, a mild and refreshing radiance trickled in. As the window opened, fresh and organic air invaded Lumian's nostrils. He couldn't help but extend himself, feeling that waking up early was quite pleasant at times. Of course, it was also owing to the patriotic public health campaign that Emperor Rizzo had launched. It was also thanks to the subsequent rulers who had preserved it and only altered its name. He surveyed his surroundings, sometimes gazing off at the far-off forest, sometimes scrutinizing the orange-red clouds in the sky, and sometimes, wait, they're orange? Oh, it would make sense because of the fires. Okay. The orange-red clouds in the sky, and sometimes observing the weeds outside of the house. Suddenly, Lumian's stare froze. Does he see something? There's on Discord WeHand stream? Okay, we'll check it out right now after. He spied on a larger bird perching on an arm elm tree not far away. It had a pointed beak, a feline face, brown feathers with scattered spots, brownish yellow eyes combined with black pupils, giving it a sharp appearance. Oh, it's the fucking owl. It was an owl. It appeared to be observing Lumian. We found the owl. Oh shit, is there owl artwork? Yo, let's look at it. Okay. Oh, wait a sec. Is the owl gonna be like our Susie? Is the owl gonna be Lumian's companion? Hold up. Is that what's going on here? All right, man, let's look at some artwork. Do I switch to, what scene am I switching to? We switch to, no, wait, no, not chatting. We switch, what am I switching to? Oh, we switched to watch. Duh, I forgot what scene I'm switching to. So this was the thumbnail we've been using. How would a weird cover for a slice of life heartwarming story? All right, here we go. The two protagonists. Oh, look at Klein and Lumiere. Look at that. Look at the fucking chads. Look at these fucking giga chads. What badasses. Okay, Lumian and Aurora. Okay. What the fuck is this? Lumiere listening to his big sis sing? Okay. If he reached chapter 14. Did we read chapter 14? What chapter did he read again? We just read it. What part was that? What part was that? Lumian and the shotgun monster. That's actually fucking insane, dude. It's like you're fighting a Dark Souls boss and like, oh yeah, by the way, here's a shotgun. Like, dude, what the fuck? How am I supposed to get in on this? That's actually insane. So this is Lumiere's dream. All right. Oh, is this the main peak? The main red peak? I was about to say the main peak of the Hornicus mountain range. Sorry, that was muscle memory right there. All right, man, this is exciting. Oh my god. I am excited to see what pathway he goes down, man. I think we're gonna leave it there. I'm gonna let you guys go. The Redstone Peak. Yeah, thank you. So it's the Redstone Peak. So we're gonna leave it there. We read about 6 chapters in about an hour and a half. I think that was a good pace, especially because these are some very girthy long chapters. We'll be back potentially Wednesday for an hour. And if we're not back Wednesday for an hour, we'll be back Thursday for an hour. Potentially, depending on how good the state of play is, without getting spoiled. If it's a state of play, we'll read. If not, we'll save it. Shit. And then I don't know about Friday, because it's a Friday. But I don't know about Saturday, because it's Valentine's. We will stream on one of those days. Don't worry. We will stream. That being said, peace. Have an amazing day. And I am excited to see what pathway he goes down. All right. Peace. Have an amazing day. Love you all.